Hello and welcome to my channel. One of my viewers asked me a while ago if I could make a video about Scorpion, and I also have been wanting to take a closer look at it for a while. Using a game engine like Scorpion means you have more time to spend on designing the actual game, which is great, especially when you have a small team or are the sole developer. As a good first project, I thought it is a good idea to make a little Space Invaders like game, since most people are familiar with the fundamental game mechanics. So we are here at the GitHub repository for the Scorpion editor, and we scroll down to where it says download, and then we click the link. Once the download is finished, we open the downloaded archive and we'll unpack that into any location where we'll find it later. There's no installer needed. So in my case, I will just unpack everything into a folder D Scorpion and click extract. To start the editor, we simply navigate to the extracted folder. Then to the editor folder, and finally we double click on the Scorpion editor application to launch it. It's possible that you see this pop-up warning when you run the editor for the first time, so all you have to do is to click on more info and run anyway. The editor might start with a very small window, so we are simply going to maximize it. A few remarks before we start digging into the editor. The Scorpion editor does make a couple of assumptions about your Windows environment. For example, that you have certain editors set up for specific file types. The most important ones would be a graphics editor for images and a level editor. To do that, you can enter the Windows settings, and there you click on the apps icon, and then default apps. In the file types, you enter PNG and set your default application for that. In my case, that is Aseprite. Feel free to pick your preferred graphics editor here. And for TMX and TSX files, it should be tiled. I think Irok has deliberately picked it, and I think it's a decent choice. We're back in the Scorpion editor, and we now click on New Scorpion Project to create a new project. For this, we create a new folder in the Scorpion, and we name it Invaders, and name the project file invaders.sproject. Scorpion will then create a default project structure in this location. So we are now greeted with the project screen, and we see that the project has been set with a number of default settings, which we will for the most part ignore for the time being. The main important thing is that we have Amiga OCS as the target platform, and for our example I only use 2-bit planes, which equates to 4 colors. I should also mention that any change we make in the Scorpion editor is automatically saved, which has both pros and cons. The good thing is that we won't forget to save. On the other hand, there is currently no undo function, so we need to come up with alternative backup options in case we mess up. The first thing I want to change is the game's standard palette. So all I need to do is click on Edit Palette to open my graphics editor. And as you can see, it's just a 32 color PNG image, and we will just edit the colors in its palette. Since we only have a 4 color screen, I decided to only edit the first 4 colors and the last 16 colors, since those affect the sprites. After we save the image and exit the graphics editor, the palette in the Scorpion editor has changed accordingly. We will now create a minimal game, and in order to do so, Scorpion needs us to set up a screen in the form of a level map. Our screen will be super simple and require only one tile, well, technical two, and we just use that to mark the borders of the screen. So for our level map, we have a PNG image that contains two squares of 16 by 16 pixels, a transparent one and a red one, and I use this image as a base for my tile set. So we go to the Maps tab and we click plus on the tile set area, and then select the prepared level tiles image. Then I create the folder maps and store new tile set as main tileset.tsx and hit save. To create a level map out of this, we click the plus sign on the map section, go to the maps folder, and then select the main tileset we just created. In the next step, we create the map file, and for that we select the maps folder and then save it under the name main map.tmx. Then we click on edit map to open the level editor, and as you see, Scorpion has set up the map with 4 layers, and we will only need the map layer for now. The first thing we do is to resize the map to 16 by 12 tiles. This ensures that the map will fit into one screen entirely. And we do this by selecting map, resize map, and changing the values for width and height. So 16 and 12. Then you can see how the size of the map changes. Next, we use the red block to draw a simple border around the map. This will help us to actually see the positioning and size of our display. So, drawing this border here. So we are done with the map, and we save and exit to return to Scorpion. Now Scorpion has detected that we changed the map file and shows it in the user interface. To test the map we just created, we will have to add a little bit of code. When we look at the project page, you see that there is a setting named startup code block, which is the code that gets executed when our game starts, and it is fittingly named startup. We can find this code in the code tab under the name startup, and it is initially empty. Scorpion organizes game logic into code blocks, and the code blocks list already contains a number of default blocks. You can see that the code blocks that are in use are using regular font style, and the unused ones are in italic style. We can tell Scorpion Engine to load our map by first adding a line to set the vertical resolution to 192 lines, which is the amount we need to display 12 tiles. So we add a line and we set the category to display. Then we set the type to set Y resolution. And finally, we set the value to 192. In the next line, we load our level map. So we add a new code line, set the category to level, and the type is already correctly set at load level, and for the value we pick main map, which is the map we just created. That's all we need for displaying our level. So we go back to the project page, and depending on which emulator you have installed, you click on either run in FS-UAE or run in WinUAE. In my case that is FS-UAE, but that's just my preference because Windows it's not my main operating system. Please be aware that the first time you click this, you might have to tell Scorpion where you have installed your Amiga emulator. And as you see, the emulator has loaded our map screen, and that's about everything we have for now. We will now create a spaceship that we can control with a joystick and use the fire button to shoot lasers. I have prepared two images for this purpose, a spaceship and a shot image, which I copied to the project directory. Now we go to the Animations tab and click the plus sign on the Images section and select the image that contains our spaceship image. Then we tell Scorpion that the image has only one slice per column and one slice per row. Finally, we create a new folder and we name it Player, and select it as the folder to store the images into. We keep the scale at 1. To generate the player animation, we click the plus sign on the animation section, select the player folder and save the animations file as animeplayer dot animstrip. Because we are creating the animation in the player folder, Scorpion automatically detects the frames that are in that folder and offers them to select for the animation. And since we only have a single frame, we select that. We also enable the only sprite option to tell Scorpion that we want our player object to be represented by a sprite, and hit the 4-color option with any sprites within the channels 1 to 8. Next, we generate the animation object for the player projectile. So we click on the plus sign in Images and select the player shot image. And we keep the same settings as with the player object. Next, we create a new folder, name it Player Shot, and we select it as the target folder for Scorpion to store the animation images. And we don't want to resize the output, so we keep the setting at 1. Then we click plus on the animation section and select the player shot folder and name the file anim player shot.animstrip. Hit save, and there is only one single frame to select for this animation. Finally, we enable the only sprite option with 4 colors to complete the object. Next, we create the actors for the player and the projectiles. So we go to the Actors tab and hit the plus sign. Then we create a new folder and name it Actors. Select it and name the new file actor underscore player dot actor. This naming seems redundant, but I've had some issues with Scorpion complaining about duplicate names. By being explicit, we stay on the safe side. Now that we created a new actor object, we want to designate an animation for it, so it will be visible on the screen. We want our player actor to always be facing up, so we click on the up button in the main view. And then on idle animations, we assign the up direction with the anim player animation. We set the class to player 1, look dir to up, and the movement type to control 8 directional movement. We actually only want to be able to move left and right, so we set speed left and speed right to 2. And leave the rest at 0. Next, we want to place the spaceship into the level, and we will use our map editor for that. So we edit the map, and you see in the Actors tab of Tiled that the player tile appears in the editor. Now we select the objects layer and set a player object into the map. We save and close the map. And to test if the player is visible and can be controlled, let's run the emulator again. That works. Now we want our spaceship to be able to shoot, and for that we define a player shot actor. So here actor underscore player shot dot actor, and define the class as projectile, and we want to have the look direction as up, and we set the move and idle animations to the anim player shot animations. We also want to set the on leave screen action to destroy actor, and the up collision action to none. Otherwise the projectile will get blocked by our background. We also want the projectile to automatically move upwards the screen once it was fired, so we make sure the movement type is set to CPU move constantly in one direction, and set speed up to, for example, 3. Next we go back to the player actor and set the projectile to the player shot actor, and we can make it visible by enabling the show projectile option. I also prepared a sound effect in IFF format named laserzap.8svx, which I placed into my project directory under a folder named sounds, and Scorpion will automatically find it if it's placed in the project directory. And we use that to set the laser zap sound as the projectile sound effect. Now we run our project in the emulator again, and we should be able to see that our spaceship is now able to shoot. Okay. And this is it for the first part. I hope this video was at least somewhat helpful to get you an idea how to start your own project using the Scorpion engine. Next time we will look at how to set up the enemies. Until then, thanks for tuning in.